Get ready for Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the 30-minute show packed with an hour's worth of information, bringing you familiar guests on important issues such as immigration, education, the Middle East, culture, religion, and the changing worldviews of Americans and the world. You've seen her on Fox News, you've read her on the World Wide Web. Now here's Sharon.
For such a time as this.
Freeing the minds of the brainwashed masses.
Well, welcome to our Weekend Woman Talk edition of the show, where my friends Audrey Russo and/or Deborah Ray join me to talk about some of the hottest topics with some fantastic guests. And today, at least 2 Americans were among the 21 who were killed in a Taliban attack on Friday at a Kabul restaurant, according to the U.S. Embassy in the Afghan capital. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry now reportedly is set to present a memorandum of understanding between Israel and the Palestinians at a conference in Jordan at the end of the month. Palestinian sources told that the document was just a vague outline with flexible contents, as the 2 sides are due to discuss the particulars of the agreement as peace talks proceed through April. And shockingly, 13,000 high school boys just graduated suicide bomber school in Gaza. Yes, they have a school for that. The Hamas government in Gaza celebrated the graduation on Monday of paramilitary camps geared at training high school students to, quote, follow in the footsteps of the suicide martyrs.
We advertise with flyers that reach their homes, posters on the streets, the mosques and schools. Everybody knows about it and registers at the nearest camp.
The camps, titled The Prisoners of Liberation, are run by Hamas's Ministries of Education and Interior. And as I said, some 13,000 students in grades 10 through 12 went to this 1-week training camp this year, compared to 5,000 last year when the program was launched.
Oh my goodness!
Well, today, Katharine Weiss, wife of Miles Weiss, both of them co-hosts of Zola Levitt Television. Miles, our Middle East correspondent here at Changing Worldviews. Katharine joins us to talk about, will there ever be peace in the Middle East? And Audrey Russo is with me as well. We will address that question as well as the issue of children being raised and trained by Hamas as killers. Their target, Israelis.
A couple of years ago, in my capacity as a filmmaker, some of the footage that you are about to see came into my hands. It is footage that has come directly off Arab TV and from the internet. The human behavior is unbelievable, violent, and many times basically barbaric. Arab television daily presents hours of biased news reporting and airs children's shows and other programs relaying powerful political and religious messages to millions of Arabs in the Middle East, many of them children. But the teaching of violence and hatred doesn't stop in the Middle East. As I further investigated my information, I was shocked to learn that men, women, and children in America are learning terrorist disciplines. In my many years of cult research and exposure to the indoctrination and brainwashing by cult leaders to their followers, I have witnessed some horrible aspects of cruelty and brutal attempts at breaking the human spirit and mind. But never before have I seen an entire generation of young people being impacted at the magnitude of brainwashing by today's political and religious indoctrination, the ramifications of which are a pending danger to us as a civilization.
You're listening to Sharon Hughes, coming to you from the Wild Wild West, and we mean wild.
Okay, as I mentioned before the break, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is supposed to deliver this memorandum of understanding between Israel and the Palestinians for their peace talks in Jordan. It's going to be hosted by Jordanian King Abdullah. Can there ever be peace in the Middle East? When we get back from this break, Katharine Weiss joins Audrey Russo and I to hear Katharine's perspective, having made numerous trips to Israel. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I want to tell you about a fantastic seminar that's coming up in the San Francisco Bay Area on January 17th and 18th. It's the Watchman on the Wall seminar put on by a ministry of Eagle's Wings. If you are just growing in your knowledge and passion for Israel, or you have been standing for Israel for years, this seminar will be an extraordinary way for you to be educated and activated on behalf of Israel and Jerusalem. There's 7 impacting teaching sessions. It's going to be held at the Father's House in Napa on Friday, January the 17th and Saturday, January the 18th. It's $89 per person, which includes all the materials, a manual, 8 CD audio teachings, and a DVD, or $149 per couple. You can register by going to www.eagleswings.to/WOTW or Watchman on the Wall, WOTW Napa, or call 1-800-519-4647, 1-800-519-4647 for the Watchman on the Wall seminar in Napa, California. Join Miles and Katharine Weiss and many others who will be conducting this Watchman on the Wall seminar January 17th and 18th, and there is a student rate of $35 available with ID. Again, call 1-800-519-4647. Again, call 1-800-519-4647. Joining us now is Katharine Weiss. Katharine and her husband Miles run Beth Shalom in Marin County, California, and they've just returned from Israel. Many of our listeners are familiar with Miles, who is our co-host on Middle East Affairs. Welcome, Katharine, to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Where are the Israeli people, would you say, in this ongoing conflict? What was the feel that you got from the people there?
My husband, who is a Jewish man, says you have 2 Jews and 3 opinions. So there's so many differing views. Israel is a democracy, and it's vast in its not only landscape, but it's also vast in its political views. You have the ultra-Orthodox and you have the ultra-conservatives, and they're both vast in how they stand and how they view the differing conflicts that are at hand. I think that there are people in Israel that would cut off their right foot or their right hand to see peace, and you can even use that as an allegory what they did in Gaza. You know, that's their homeland, and they gave it away to see if they could have peace. And I think there's heartache for the whole land and the whole people in the land during this time.
What would you say, Katharine, are the results since Sharon gave up Gaza to the Palestinian demands in the name of peace?
Well, it's devastating. And there's 8,000 people displaced, dislocated, and unemployed, 80% unemployed. I think it's risen a little bit higher now. I think they're up to 65 unemployed. What was once meant to be a refuge for Jewish people has become a refugee camp now. And people have been caused to leave their homes, and Gaza is now a stronghold for terrorism. It was once a greenhouse and a flourishing place where it produced vegetables and flowers for not only for Israel but for the world. You know, there's a scripture in Isaiah that says that God shall cause a desert to bloom. And even when the Jewish people returned to the land and to Gaza, the friendly Arabs said to them, "You have caused the land to smile on you." When the Jewish people came back and began to work Gaza, the land began to respond, and they began to cause that desert to bloom. And now, I know the American Jewish people bought the greenhouses as a gift for the Arab people to have, and they just tore them apart. Also a place where there was 10,000 Arabs employed, and now they have rockets as their main employment.
It's not working. Giving the land up is not creating peace.
You're absolutely correct. It would not, and that is, in essence, negotiating with terrorists. Mm-hmm. We can't do that, and that's what they've done. It's, as Katharine said, it's total chaos. I mean, the Qassam rocket attacks, as a matter of fact, there's been 175 Qassams come out of Gaza. It's a swamp of violence there. I consider it a terrorist depot. That's what Gaza has become. And if people want to know what a Palestinian state will look like with what we have right now, look at Gaza.
Wow. Well, ladies, we're going to have to take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about why we here in America, specifically even as women, should care about what goes on in Israel, that tiny country in the middle of the Middle East. So stay with us, folks. We've got more coming.
And now, with a look at what's happening on the legal front, the president of the Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus.
After erecting in 2012 a monument on Capitol grounds, which includes the Ten Commandments, the state of Oklahoma is being sued for violating the, quote, separation of church and state. Well, this month, there is an application pending to now erect a statue of Satan as a homage to Satan and a symbol of religious neutrality. The Oklahoma legislature and the Oklahoma Capitol Preservation Commission have placed a moratorium on all further monuments until the lawsuit against the Ten Commandments has been resolved. We must pray that Oklahoma prevails over this disturbing legal attack. I'm Brad Dacus.
To find out more about The Legal Edge, call 916-857-6900 or log on at pacificjustice.org.
I want to tell you about a pro-life rally that's going to be held in Santa Rosa, California on January 19th. Sonoma County Pro-Life cordially invites you to attend the annual Rally for Life at Courthouse Square in downtown Santa Rosa on Sunday, January 19th from 1:30 to 3 o'clock p.m. The rally will feature music and speakers celebrating the sanctity and value of life as we remember the tragedy of over 40 million lives lost since abortion was legalized in America. This is a family-friendly event, and all are invited to come and be witnesses for life. Speakers include youth and community leaders, and the keynote speaker is James Jenkins of California Pro-Life. Again, Sunday, January 19th at Courthouse Square, Santa Rosa, California, 1:30 p.m. It's free and well worth it. Bring your friends.
This may look like a children's community or school parade. While Westerners might use an event like this to promote wholesome values such as championing freedom and respect for the rights of individuals, in the Middle East, these children are being prepared for something much more sobering. They are taught from birth that war isn't merely a video game or movie to be entertained by, but a personal involvement in their everyday lives. Many means are being used to condition these children to violence and hatred. The school classroom, television talk shows and dramas, animated cartoons, and these shocking assault course training camps. All these methods are vehicles to desensitize children to death and murder. Loading machine guns, handling ammunition, and a scene shooting guns is normalized. Children are not only being taught to kill others, but incredibly they are also being taught to die as suicide bombers.
Well, we're talking about Israel and where there are so many efforts at peace between the Israelis and Palestinians, and yet no peace. Well, Audrey, let me ask you, will there ever be peace between Israel and the Palestinians, do you think?
Under the current plan, simply no. The PA is an organization which their creed is Israel has no right to exist. Hamas agrees with that. This is a mindset of hatred that didn't happen overnight. This is, as I said before, Arafat's legacy. And my concern, and I know that your concern and Katharine's, is that the children continue to be indoctrinated with this mindset. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, there was a piece on Palestinian Media Watch, which says that they, again, the PATV is again broadcasting music videos designed to brainwash young children seeking death as shaheeds, or shahada promoting music videos. These are martyrs for Allah. And they did it in between 2000 and 2004. They did it thousands of times. They're doing it again. And it's very disturbing. This has to be corrected. It has to be addressed. And it's not. So if this is not taken care of, there's never hope of peace there.
Katharine, for today, let me just ask you, why would you say that we here in America, and as women, why should we care about what goes on in Israel?
We should care because God has asked us to care. In His Bible, He's asked us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. In Psalm 122, every day to take it into heart, to pray for the peace that would come from knowing him and knowing the shalom from being right with him. You know, Miles, my husband, talks about the occupation. It's the occupation of the mind. And it's only God's love that can renew their mind to how to treat other humans outside of their own culture and their own race. Walid Shabbat is a perfect example of an Arab person who went to prove the Bible wrong and found out that it was all full of life and love and hope and promise, and he couldn't refute his Catholic wife who was telling him the claims of Christ. So I think it's the heroes like Walid Shabbat and Britt Gabriel and the other many Arab people that have come to know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then have come to love Israel and love the Jewish people and to fight their cause. So I think it's not in the giving away of land. Land does not buy peace. Love buys peace. Love working in us and through us, through our prayers that will affect the Arab hearts, the Arab minds, and ultimately bring that cousin relationship to reconciliation.
What would you say, Audrey, as a Messianic Jew? Do Jews want to love their Arab brothers? And do you think that the Arab brothers would ever be able to love them?
We would hope so. We would love to see that. I totally agree with Katharine. And I don't want to sound like I'm being the one that's scaring everyone, but we as women here in this country need to be concerned. It should matter to us because it's the same terrorist organizations that are fighting in Israel are the same that seek to destroy us. Hamas and Hezbollah have killed more Americans than any terrorist organization in the world. So their MO is to subjugate the Western world, which includes women and children. So it should matter to us. It better matter to us.
Well, I just wanted to ask Katharine before we close out here, was there anything else that you think our listeners would be interested in that you experienced or saw or heard when you were in Israel?
I think that if anybody hasn't come to the land of Israel, they should make a pilgrimage and make a journey there. It is a land of promise. It's a land where a fulfillment of God's word coming to pass before our very eyes. And the Jewish people themselves draw great strength from Christians coming and sharing their faith with them. I think that would be my one desire, that if you have the opportunity to go and to share your faith and encouragement with them.
So why don't you give your website address, and is there information there about your trips?
Yes, there is, and it's visitbethshalom.org.
Okay, well, thank you, Katharine, for being with us.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, I hope to make that trip with you sometime myself.
I hope so.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Audrey, very interesting subject. We're going to be talking about this for a long time, I'm afraid. However, it's not just going to go away easily, is it?
No, it didn't get this way overnight, and it's not, unfortunately, going to change overnight. We need to, as I was saying, we need to pay attention to this in particular with the children, and we have to stop the next generation.
Yes, and we're waiting to line up a show with the folks at Teach Kids Peace, which is an effort of honestreporting.com to inform people on a greater level of what's going on over there.
Now, Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Thank you very much. It's good to see all of you. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, 3,000 years ago, King David reigned over the Jewish state in our eternal capital, Jerusalem. I say that to all those who proclaim that the Jewish state has no roots in our region and that it will soon disappear. Throughout our history, the Jewish people have overcome all the tyrants who have sought our destruction. It's their ideologies that have been discarded by history. The people of Israel live on. We say in Hebrew, Am Yisrael Chai, and the Jewish state will live forever. The Jewish people have lived in the land of Israel for thousands of years. Even after most of our people were exiled from it, Jews continued to live in the land of Israel throughout the ages. And the masses of our people never gave up the dream of returning to our ancient homeland. Defying the laws of history, we did just that. We ingathered the exiles, restored our independence, and rebuilt our national life. The Jewish people have come home. We will never be uprooted again. Yesterday was Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year. Great travails of our dispersion. We mourned the extermination of a third of our people, 6 million, in the Holocaust. But at the end of Yom Kippur, we celebrate. We celebrate the rebirth of Israel. We celebrate the heroism of our young men and women who've defended our people with the indomitable courage of Joshua, David, and the Maccabees of old. We celebrate the marvel of the flourishing modern Jewish state. You see, in Israel, we walk the same paths tread by our patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Israel's exceptional creativity is matched by our people's remarkable compassion. When disaster strikes anywhere in the world, in Haiti, Japan, India, Turkey, because Israel cherishes life, that Israel cherishes peace and seeks peace. We seek to preserve our historic ties and our historic peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan. We seek to forge a durable peace with the Palestinians.
Hamas added female trainers to their staff this year to, quote, oversee the training of the young women to follow in the footsteps of the female suicide operatives. The Hamas prime minister, addressing Israel, said, "Beware this generation. This is a generation which knows no fear. It is the generation of the missile, the tunnel, and the suicide operations." So, ladies and gentlemen, while U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry now reportedly is set to present a memorandum of understanding, as I said on the show yesterday, the Palestinian leadership has reportedly rejected Kerry's proposals and said that there will be no peace unless they get Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister said, "We will not give up Jerusalem," and so that's a point of no return, if you will, so to speak, in these, quote, peace talks. We talked about this when Kerry resumed the talks after the holidays, that would be the issue, Jerusalem, whether to divide it or not. Palestinians say that unless Kerry significantly changes the current formulation of his proposals, the Palestinians will reject his overtures, confident that much of the international community will consider them to be, the Palestinians, the injured party, and hold Israel responsible for the failure of peace efforts. And so, thus, the question, will there ever be, can there ever be peace in the Middle East? It's so important to watch what is going on because it will affect the entire world, including the United States of America.
The American walks every day, normal, going to work. He's walking downtown in Manhattan, and all of a sudden, two planes hit the Twin Towers, and they have no clue why would somebody do such a thing.
The deliberate and deadly attacks which were carried out yesterday against our country were more than acts of terror. They were acts of war.
Radical Islam has declared a war. Radical Islam is at war now with the West.
When I saw the second airplane hit, I knew jihad has come to America.
What happened in Bali and in Istanbul and now in Madrid are close to home for all of us. The tentacles of terrorism are reaching out to every corner of the world.
London's worst attack since the Second World War, the series of blasts rocked the capital during the busy morning rush hour. A shocking toll of dead and injured, dozens are described as in a critical condition.
Beslan School number 1 is a scene of carnage tonight. Hundreds of children are feared dead.
Every single country in the world is dealing with this on one level or another. You see that the Thais are dealing with it. You see that the Filipinos are dealing with it. The Europeans are dealing with it in Madrid. The Russians are dealing with it in Chechnya. The British are dealing with it in London and in Manchester. And of course, you see in the Middle East, whether it's in Iraq, in Iran, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Egypt, and of course in Israel and Saudi Arabia, and you go to Africa and you see that jihadis are operating everywhere from Djibouti to South Africa. All of these areas that we refer to as separate wars, the Palestinian war in Israel, the Iraq war, they see all of these not as specific wars, but as fronts in a global jihad.
Well, it is the weekend, and if you're like Dwayne and I, we enjoy relaxing with a movie on Friday or Saturday night over the weekend, and I would like to recommend an older film relevant to today's topic. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it, and if you've seen it, you should probably watch it again. It will really help give a clear perspective on what we're dealing with when we're talking about Iran, and it's Not Without My Daughter, starring Sally Fields. It's a true story that takes place in 1984 when Betty Mahmoudi's husband takes his wife and daughter to meet his family in Iran. And though a little uneasy, his wife, played by Sally Fields, trusts him when he promises they would be safe, happy, and free to leave. However, once there, he tells her he's decided to stay, and if she wants to leave, she can, but without their daughter. If she stays, she must adapt to the culture, which she believes is dangerous. And the movie shows the challenges that American married women face living in Iran, such as one of our guests, Pat Rausch, experienced in Saudi Arabia, who, after 20 years, has still not seen her daughters, who were kidnapped by her ex-husband. Not Without My Daughter, certainly available on Netflix or at video stores, any of the ones that are still open today. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I encourage you to stay informed and pray informed. Don't just read the news, pray the news. And pray for our country and pray for the peace of Israel. So that's it. I encourage you to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on KDIA AM 1640 at 4:30 p.m. and every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays for our 1-hour live stream show, which you can access by going to changingworldviews.com, listen online, or by telephone at 424-222-5360, or online, changingworldviews.com. Click on the Blog Talk Radio link, and that'll take you to our online stream show. And there's also archives there as well. And so until I see you next time, this is Sharon Hughes saying it like it is.
Thanks for listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. You can get more information on today's topic or order a CD of today's show by visiting changingworldviews.com or writing us at Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California, 94975-0624. You can also contact us at talk@changingworldviews.com. That's talk@changingworldviews.com. Our program is listener-supported, and we appreciate your tax-deductible donations to help us get the truth out on the important issues Sharon addresses on the show. So until next time, remember, stay alert, stay informed. We live in a changing world.